My boyfriend wants me to come clean about my past as a pole dancer to his family and sell the house that I bought with my dirty money because I'm pregnant now, but he's not making any sense, and I wouldn't understand his reasoning for it. For several years I was a stripper. I have no shame about what I did and only quit when I got a better job offer. In the time I worked as a stripper, I intentionally lived as cheaply as possible, little studio flat, living off ramen, wearing old clothes, because my coworkers all told me that they were able to buy their own places on their income, so long as they saved like crazy. Before I retired, I managed to outright buy myself a 3-bedroom flat. I rented out the other rooms for a while, but I got sick of having roommates, so now I have them up online for shorter stays, but not to rent. I met this guy about 18 months ago, and we've been together since. He knows about my employment history, and he said that he has no issue with it, though he did ask me to tell his family the white lie I occasionally use on my CV and stuff, which is that I was a waitress, which I kind of was TBF. A month ago we found out that I'm 2 months pregnant. He says this is great news, and we should move in together. I assumed he'd be moving into my place because he rents his far smaller 1-bedroom flat while I own mine, and I have room for a baby's room while he doesn't. Also, I really don't want to leave my flat. It's my flat, I love it, I could see myself living here for the rest of my life, and I don't want to lose the security of owning a flat and have to go back to paying rent or a mortgage each month. However, he then said that he didn't want to move into my place, and said I should sell it and we buy a place together. I said that I like my place, it means a lot to me that I was able to buy it, and it represents years of working my arse off scrimping and saving. He then said that he understands all of that, but we should be living together by the time the baby comes, and he didn't want to live in my flat. I asked him why not. It's a great flat, it's central to everything, it's spacious, it's got room for all his stuff, there's a daycare in the building, run/owned by another tenant, and a school 5-minute walk away, the list goes on, and he said that he didn't want to live in a flat that was bought with stripper money. That really pissed me off, and I told him no way am I selling my flat and that he never had an issue with my stripper money paying for this flat before now. I said I wasn't giving up the security of owning a home for someone who tries to make me feel ashamed about something I don't feel ashamed of. He said that his point is if I sold the flat then we could get a new place with the money from the sale. I said wouldn't that still be stripper money? And he said that's different, and I asked how. He then said he was going back to his place because I can't talk to you when you're in this state. He's gone back to his flat now and he's texted me saying I'm overreacting/irrational, and I need to think of this realistically rather than emotionally. He says he wouldn't feel right raising a child in my flat knowing how I purchased it, and selling/moving is the best idea of all of us, not to mention the fact he isn't on the deed because it's my place and it would never feel like our place because of this. I feel I might be the arse because I get why he might feel like it's just my place, and I feel I'm being too rigid in a time we need to work together, plus I spoke to my sister and she sided with him, so 2 out of 3 people think I'm in the wrong here. Am I the jerk? Update 1. In England. I recently found out I was pregnant. I am not on the pill and don't have the implant, either, due to medical reasons, so our only protection was condoms. I am now 2 months pregnant with his child. I own my own flat and have a well-paying job, while he owns a failing startup and does agency shifts. We talked yesterday. Someone suggested I recorded all interactions, as a few people had already guessed that he might have messed with our birth control, so I set my phone to record as he arrived. During the conversation, he initially said that if we weren't together as a couple, then he wouldn't want to be in this baby's life, and when I said we could work out split custody he said, that's lies. Later in the conversation he said I thought a baby would fix things. I responded it couldn't have fixed anything, if anything it made things more strained with us as the baby wasn't planned, and he snapped at me, of course it was. How do you think you got pregnant? Magic? He then paused and he said I mean that. It wasn't like. Stop making that face, I'm joking. I directly asked him are you saying you messed up the condoms? And he, quietly but audibly, says yeah. I told him to get out of my flat and he said look, have it, don't have it, I don't give a dang before he left. I later texted him, saying just tell me why. He then called me, so I started recording on my MP3. Over the phone he admitted that he was hoping I'd sell my flat, buy a new place with a mortgage, and we could give the business a boost. I hung up on him. Hours before the initial conversation, I spoke to a solicitor who deals with custody stuff regularly, so he said he'd help me with the custody stuff. However, he's married to my friend, and I love her but she's a bit of a gossip and can be a little condescending, as in oh, poor you, so I don't want either of them knowing about any of this if it's unusable. My ex was not aware that I was recording at any point in either recording, and there's no visuals, only audio on both recordings. We did say each other's names a few times on the first, but not at all on the second. Is this admissible in a custody battle? Is it useful due to the context? I feel like he said all the things that would win my case if there was one, but if he can't do anything with it, then I don't want him knowing about it. If it is useful and admissible, then do I just send it to the friend's husband? Thanks in advance. Update 2. Now for the update, because a lot of people asked for one. First off, I dumped him. He initially said that he doesn't want to be a parent if we're not a couple, but earlier this week he told me he wants majority custody, so not only does he not have to pay child support, but if he gets majority then I end up paying him. He actually said that was his reasoning. He also runs his own startup, and admitted the startup is basically done for, and he was hoping that when I sold my place I could also put a cash injection into his business with the money, so basically this was all about money for him, and I have extensive documentation of all of this. There's going to be a legal case, but I've gotten legal advice, and it looks like I'll be able to get sole custody, which is what I intend to go for. In the last couple weeks, my sister has doubled down and is trying to get me to fix things with my ex because a baby should have a complete family, so I've not been involving her in my pregnancy, which she is furious about. She also told our parents, which I am furious about, so we're not speaking right now. I also want to say thank you to everyone who commented on my first post. When I first posted, between my boyfriend and my sister, I was genuinely convinced I was in the wrong, so to have such an overwhelmingly supportive response really helped me realize that I shouldn't doubt myself so much, and with that realization, plus everything going on right now, I've decided to go to therapy, which I will be starting next week. All in all, the outcome of this is probably going to be me being a single mother in the flat I own. And honestly, pretty decent outcome. Update 3. I wasn't sure if I should tag this as rant/vent or help. Because I'm panicking and it shows, but I also need advice. So I had a scan today and it's twins. The text said it was hard to tell, but she thinks they're identical. She also asked how far along I thought I was, and I said the number I worked out was 14 weeks, but I wasn't 100% certain as this was my first proper checkup, aside from my GP who said they'd tell me at the scan, and the text said both me and the babies were a little big for 14 weeks, and that we looked more like 16. She offered me an estimated due date, which is just the first half of March, then said that with twins it can be harder to tell, and that didn't exactly ease my panic. Though everything else looks good, so that's amazing. But twins. There's 2 of them. And there's 1 of me. And I think it's just really hitting me right now that I have never been a mom before and I have no clue what I'm doing, and there's going to be not 1 but 2 tiny humans depending on me who are arriving sometime in March. When in March? It's a surprise. I have room for twins. I have resources for twins. I think I have the energy for twins. But I am terrified. I have no clue what I'm doing. I have 3 bedrooms, so do I put them in separate rooms or together? My friend offered to stay with me for a little after the birth, and I said no. So am I going to need to take him up on that? Is there anything different about having twins that I should be aware of, aside from there being 2 of them? Also, what do I do about this window the tech gave me? Is that normal? Are they going to be able to narrow it down at any point? I know I just got out a lot, but if anyone has any advice for me on the due date or due window of time, or the whole twins situation, it'd be really great. Update 4. I spent 18 months in a relationship that in retrospect was very controlling, and I fell out of contact with a lot of friends because of how my ex felt about them. My ex and I broke up. I was pregnant with twins when we split, and I began therapy. The therapist got me to reach out to friends I'd neglected. There were 2 in particular that I really missed and decided to reach out to first, Lily and Caleb. They were happy to hear from me, and were completely understanding of the situation with my ex. I reached out to them mid-October, and it's like we never stopped talking. I've been friends with Lily since we were kids, and I met Caleb at university, nearly a decade ago. My ex didn't like Lily because she's bisexual, as am I, and he didn't like Caleb because he's a straight man. Since October I've been talking to both of them regularly. Christmas rolled around and we were all alone, so I said they were welcome to come over. Lily and Caleb had met before this, but they were more acquaintances than friends, and they became friends over Christmas dinner. They, and a couple other friends, pitched in and bought me a mixer plus a metric ton of baby stuff for Christmas. Lily and Caleb then began coming over more often. They made a group chat so we could make plans together. They helped me put together the nursery. Lily drove me to one of my appointments, and when I mentioned in passing that I was creating ice cream, Caleb showed up with 4 tubs the next day. These are just examples, but generally they went above and beyond the last few months. I went into labor 3 weeks ago, nearly a full month early. With preemie twins things have been hectic, and I wasn't taking visitors for the first week, but a few days after coming home they told me in the group chat to open the front door, and when I did there was a bag containing ready meals and snacks, plus a couple tubs of formula. When I began taking visitors, they would show up together, and one of them minds the kids while the other cleans. The only reason I'm able to write this right now is that they came over earlier. Caleb got both girls to go to sleep, and Lily left me a meal for tonight. I have a weird relationship with the concept of asking for help. I had to be self-sufficient from a young age, so asking other people for help is uncomfortable for me. They know this, which is why they're not waiting for me to ask, so much as they are just showing up and helping. I have been thanking them profusely, but they always tell me not to thank them, saying that we're friends, so this is completely reasonable, but I know they're doing a lot more than anyone else would in this situation. Which prompts the question, how do I adequately thank Lily and Caleb for everything they've been doing the last few months? Where do I even begin? Update 5. I have 3-month-old twin girls. I have been no contact with my parents for a decade, due to them being highly abusive and kicking me out as a teen. I am not letting them meet my kids because of this. My sister is 3 months pregnant. She lives with our parents, and says she intends to continue doing this as she doesn't want to raise a child, but they want a grandchild, so the idea is they would all live together and my parents would raise the child while my sister was only the mother on paper. I called my sister to work out a way to get the baby away from our parents. She said if I want to take the baby, she will allow a legal adoption, but that's the only other option she will consider. The bio-father is not going to be involved, so he doesn't factor in here. I have the money to take in a third child, and with a bit of adjusting I could make the room. I can extend my maternity leave to a full year. It's meant to end soon, meaning that when the newborn arrives I would have 3 months left of my leave to get settled. I'm a single mother, but I have a strong network of friends to help and my job has been very good with me taking leave and my work entitles me to free childcare. Would pursuing the adoption be a good idea? What would potentially having 9-month-old twins and a newborn at the same time look like? Would being so close in age affect the kids growing up? Sorry if this is the wrong place to ask this, but it seemed like the most logical forum to go to. Relevant comments about the sister, the parents and the adoption. If we were to go along with the adoption and my sister were to change her mind last minute, I would be surprised and upset, but I would understand. I loved my twins from the minute I knew I was pregnant. I can't imagine ever willingly giving them up, so if it turned out my sister felt the same, I would accept that. There's a reason bio parents are usually given a grace period to change their minds, and I would be willing to honor that. I would only draw the line at her changing her mind after several years. My sister moved in with our parents voluntarily. She's in her mid-20s, and would have been able to continue living alone. She chose to move in with them and support them financially as she was concerned about them. If they did hypothetically kick her out, which is unlikely given that she's paying for everything, she would still have income and land on her feet, and when we were talking I offered her my guest room and financial support if she wanted to move out, so if she were kicked out and couldn't afford a new place, I would be willing to extend the offer of a rent-free guest room and financial support again. Update 6. I have 3-month-old twins and my sister is 3 months pregnant. She wants me to adopt her child, meaning that when my twins are 9 months old, I may be adopting her newborn, giving me 3 under 1. The 3-month-olds are doing well. We got off to a shaky start, but they're currently sleeping 4 to 5 hours straight, so I'm hoping they'll be sleeping through the night soon, and haven't had any serious issues despite being slightly premature, couple weeks. I've arranged childcare for when I go back to work. I'm meant to go back soon, but I can either extend my maternity leave to a full year, meaning that I'll be off for 6 months, then the newborn comes, then I'll have another 3 months to adjust, or I can go back for 5 to 6 months and then take a second round of leave when the new baby comes. Which sounds best? I have a 3-bedroom flat, and the plan was that as the girls got older, they would get a bedroom each, but if I brought in a third child, what would be the setup? Could they share a room? How long for? Would I need to get a bigger place right away or could I hold off until I have a little more in the bank? I really want to take my sister's kid in, as it's the only way to keep them safe, but I don't know if having 3 babies on my hands at once is the best idea, particularly when I'm a single parent. Could anyone in a similar position give me a better idea of what 3 under 1 would look like? I think I'm doing pretty well with 2, but a third child who is 9 months younger than the others doesn't sound easy, to say the least. Any advice or opinion is appreciated. Thanks. Relevant comment. Would the sister give up the baby for adoption? She would not. She says either our parents raise the baby, or I do. I did suggest other options, such as offering her resources to enable her to keep the child. She says she doesn't want to be a mother, or asking our siblings to take the baby. She says they are all ill-equipped to take the child, which is true. Placing the baby up for adoption was mentioned, but the system isn't great where we are, better than most places but still not great, and she doesn't want to take any chances. She says that she knows I'm a good mother from what our brother has told her, and she trusts me with her child, and if I can't do it, then our parents will. Update 7. I'm adopting my sister's son. He was born 8 days ago, but he's over 2 months premature. Closer to 3. The birth was meant to be natural but ended up a C-section due to complications, but the C-section was still routine with no issues. Doctor said it went as well as it could have overall. The doctor wanted to keep my son for a bit longer because he's just so early and they want to be positive it's safe before I take him home. However, because I can't begin the formal adoption for a few weeks still, and with the you-know-what restricting visitors, this means I can't even visit him. I would post a pic here but I don't even have a picture to show you. I've only seen him once, immediately after the birth. My sister is allowed to see him as the birth mother but she's only been once. I was meant to be able to take him home yesterday but they asked to keep him longer and run a few more tests. I'm either getting no information or incredibly limited info because despite being his mother and him coming to live with me once he's released, because it isn't on paper yet and I didn't birth him, they're not allowed to give me the same information that my sister is getting. I'm angry and frustrated, tired and anxious, and while my partners are trying to calm me, it's not working. I just want him home safe. Relevant comment. He's about 10 weeks early. I thought a week was a short time but the nurse assured me I could take him home after that. Paperwork can start from when he's 6 weeks old but that isn't including the time it takes to be approved. The other legal aspects have been dealt with so it should be a fairly simple process but I still have to wait to file.